Hey, welcome back to another video. So recently you might have seen that there are more and more people who are getting into chess. Chess is becoming popular like anything. So naturally there are more and more people who are playing on sites like chess.com and Lichess. So if you are one of them, you might have come across this term called as chess rating or chess elo. So you might wonder what exactly is this chess rating or chess elo. Or for that matter, even if you are an experienced player, you might wonder what my chess rating actually means or how it is calculated. So in this video today, we will be seeing what exactly is your chess rating and how it is calculated and how you can get it for yourself. So this will be a two-part video. In the first part, I will be explaining about the chess rating, and the second part, I will explain about how you can get it for yourself. So let's get started. So, in simple words, chess rating is basically a number that is assigned to a player depending on his performance or strength or skill of playing chess. So generally, the higher your rating, the better you are at chess. Chess rating is just like a tool that helps us to understand or predict an outcome between two players. So let's say a 1800 player or a 1700 player are fighting against each other, then you would generally expect the 1800 player to win, right? So it helps us to predict the outcomes of a game. That is the job of a chess rating. But how it is calculated is a great question, because you can't measure a strength or performance of a player by looking at his moves, because that would be too arbitrary. So therefore we need a system that depends on win, loss or a draw, basically depending on the result between two players. So there have been lot of systems that have been employed to calculate a chess rating, like Ingo system or the Harkness system, but one of the most popular that is still being used today by FIDE as well as the USCF is the ELO system. The ELO system actually was developed by a person named as Arpad Elo. Now Arpad Elo was a chess master himself, and also he was a physics professor himself. So let us understand what is this ELO system actually is. So Arpad Elo introduced this term called as expected score. So expected score basically means what would be the expected score that would come out if two different players were playing. Let's take an example. Let's say an 1800 player and a 1700 player are playing. So the rating difference between them is 100 points. So therefore, the 1800 player would have an expected score of 0.64, whereas the 1700 rated player would have an expected score of 0.36. Now we will get back to the point where how to calculate this expected score, but let us first understand this scenario. Now in chess, you actually have three scores that are possible, that is a win, that is you get 1 point, a loss in which you get 0 points, and a draw in which you get 0.5 points. But ELO introduced this new concept where each rating difference would have a certain expected score that you could expect from them. So after you calculate this expected score for different rating differences, you have this formula that you can see on your screen, wherein the R new is the new rating of the player and R old is the old rating of the player. K here represents just the amplification factor that you would need to amplify the rating after the rating score is calculated. And SA is the actual score that happens between the two players. Let's say 1800 and 1700 players play. What is the outcome? Is it a draw? Is it a win for 1800? Is it a win for 1700? Depending on that, we would have the SA. And EA here is the expected score that is between the two players. So for 1800 player, it would be 0.64 in this case. So after all of this, you calculate the final rating that you have on your that you can see on your screen. That would be the final rating for the 1800 player if, let's say, he decides to win the game. So now that you have understood this rating formula, now let us get back to the point that how do you calculate the expected score. So ELO actually gave a long theory on how to calculate this expected score, and he actually arrived at this formula that you can see on your screen. So RA here is the rating of the A player and RB here is the rating of the B player. So 400 is basically the dispersion or the variation in one's rating, which we are not going to focus on because we are not going to go deep into the mathematics of it. Rather, let us look at this table that is provided by FIDE that has pre-calculated values of expected score for different ratings. Now you can see that for a rating difference of, let's say, 99, for a rating difference of let's say 677, the higher rated player would have an expected score of 0.99, and for a rating difference of let's say 110, the expected score for the lower player would be 0.18. So that's how you calculate the expected score by using that formula. And also you can see from this table that you can calculate the expected score. So once you have the expected score and the actual score from the game, and you have K factor. Now K factor is been prescribed by FIDE. As you can see on your screen, there are different K factors for different categories. So you choose whichever is the suitable K factor for you, and then you use that formula to calculate your new rating from the expected score and the actual score. So now that you have a good understanding of how ratings are calculated, it will be better for you to go into a tournament and have it for yourself. So this ELO system is actually, as I told you guys, is being used by FIDE, USCF, as well as other federation, as well as some of the other esports companies. But popular sites like Chess and chess.com use the improved version of ELO, that is the Glico and the Glico 2 system, which is the improved version of ELO that uses the similar concept but in a better way. Now you have a better understanding of the ELO system. So now it's time for us to get into how to get the rating for yourself. So now here's the beginning of part 2. So to get an online rating, it is not so complicated, because all you have to do is just register yourself on your favorite site like chess.com or Chess and just play a game of chess. The moment you play a game of chess, you would have a rating for yourself that will be displayed on your profile and you are good to go. However, getting a FIDE rating is a bit complicated, because the most important thing that you have to do to get a FIDE or an over-the-board rating is to play in a FIDE rated tournament. So you have to register yourself on your country's federation and then participate in an event that is governed by FIDE. You can't just play with your friend and expect to get a rating. So that is the basic criteria to get a FIDE rating. So after you have played your first opponent, you get actually your rating. You have to score at least a draw against him or win the match, because if you lose, you don't get the rating. So the moment you face your first rated opponent, you would have your rating. But to get it published, you need to face at least 5 opponents. So the base criteria to get a rating is to face 5 opponents and to score at least 0.5 out of 5. Then you are good to go with your rating. But what would be your first rating? That depends actually on your score. So let's say you play in a tournament that has 10 games, and let us try to understand this with different criteria. So the first criteria, let us take it as you manage to score 50%, that is 5 out of 10. Then your first rating that would get published would be the average rating of all your opponents combined. Now let us take the second case, wherein you score more than 50% in that tournament. So let us take you score 6 out of 10 in your first tournament. So your first rating that would get published would be actually the average rating of your opponent plus 20 points every time you score more than half a point. So let us understand that with an example. So let's say average rating of your opponent was 1600. So your rating will be 1600 plus 2 times 20, because you scored 2 half more than 5. You can actually visualize that from the screen. I will put some animations to make you understand better. So you can see that your rating at the end would be 1640. 1640 would be your rating. So let us take the third example. In the third example, let us say you score less than 50%, or let us say you score 3 out of 10. In that scenario, your rating would be your average rating of your opponents minus the rating difference. Now the rating difference that you can calculate is actually, let's say you score 3 out of 10, so that would be 0.3. Now for 0.3 difference, you can see that the rating difference that is there is minus 149. So let us say if your average rating of your opponents is 1600, then minus 149 would get subtracted from your rating and you would have your rating something around 1450. So I hope you are able to understand what would be your first rating depending on your results, and now you have a better idea of how ratings are calculated and what constitutes your chess rating. I hope you managed to find this video useful in some way, and I was able to convey my message to you guys. And if you actually find this video useful, make sure to hit that like button and also share this video with your friends because it helps grow the channel. Also, if you want more such content, then make sure to subscribe this video, and I'll bring more chess content to you. Until then, bye bye.